The combined agenda and regular meeting of the Monroe Township Council is called to order today on April 7th at 6:30 p.m. Would you all please rise as we honor our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Yeah, please. We'd like to request a moment of silence for Chris Terranova. He passed away on the 8th of March of this year. He was a paramedic who was beloved by all who worked with him, and they would be pleased to describe for you the wonderful things that he did during his working career with us. He worked with the EMS Station 2 for 6 months of each year. He was a special man, and his loss is felt by all those who knew him. A moment, please. Thank you all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Charles DePiero. Councilman Michael Markell. Councilwoman Rupa P. Siegel.
Here.
Council Vice President Terrence Van Zora.
Here.
Council President Miriam Cohen.
Here. Would the clerk please read the Sunshine Law into the record?
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice has been provided by the following. 1. Posted on the bulletin board within the municipal building on December 27, 2024, and remains posted at that location for public inspection. 2. Printed in the Home News Tribune and the Cranberry Press on December 27, 2024. 3. Posted on the Monroe Township website. And 4. Sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. In accordance with Chapter 3, Section 17 of the Monroe Township Code, public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes unless further time is granted by the Council President.
Thank you. We have a number of proclamations this month. This is National Donate Life Month, April 2025, National Arab American Heritage Month, Monroe Township Library Week, the 6th through the 12th, and National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and Arbor Day. I would like to please take note that in honor of Library Week, we have been honored by the presence of our director and the deputy director of the Monroe Township Library. They are someplace there. They are. We all thank you, as you can see, for the wondrous library that we all enjoy. So thank you. We have a presentation, Mr. Mayor. Please.
Whoa. Just because it says on the agenda your name. Wow. Thank you, Madam Council President. I'm here to bid adieu to our business administrator here in Monroe Township, Alan Weinberg. And we've been kind of having these go-away parties for him for the last full week of partying and goodbyes. And tonight is to publicly proclaim a thank you to who he is and what he's done. So the business administrator for the town, maybe it was a town that you've been before, you've lived in there. It could be called a town manager. The business administrator oversees all of the administrative functions of the town, from the Parks Department, the Rec Department, Public Works, library, all, not the library, but in particular, but it's also one of the functions is the budget as well. And it's, for lack of a better term, the mayor's right-hand person. And we have been lucky so lucky as a township to have Alan Weinberg in that role. When I came on board, one of the reasons the allure to be mayor was because of our business administrator, Alan Weinberg. So after some time spent with us here, Alan decided that it was time to go elsewhere. And again, I've kind of told the little joke. I'm like, why is Alan leaving? Why is Alan leaving? And I said, is it because I just keep looking at his office? It was right next to mine as a good mayoral bathroom, to convert it to. But it's decided that Alan was to go on to better pastures, better position, and he leaves Monroe a better place. And I think for anyone who's had a career, when it was time to move on, I hope it was a fulfilling job that you had, a job that you were able to walk away and say, I made a difference. Alan Weinberg fits that role. Alan made a difference for Monroe Township. The relationship that I had with the business administrator is a relationship that is every day, many times a day, always talking about what are we doing, what's going on, are there some fires to put out, what have we done, what are we looking forward to? So it was constant, and you needed that relationship in order to function properly. And Alan's thoughts, his mind, his brain, its beautiful brain, was able to see what we needed, what we've done, what we wanted to move forward. So me personally, my experience was I wouldn't have been able to do what I do as mayor to the fullest extent without having such a beautiful man, Alan Weinberg, in that position. So I've waxed poetically enough. I have to just say that, Alan, I didn't know you had so many friends to come out to wish you a goodbye, but it's my honor and privilege to present you with this plaque. Let me read it, and then I will call you up again to give you that'll be the time for you to get up, and I'll give you a little bit of a hug, and then I'll let you chit-chat a little bit. So, Madam Council President, if I may read it, in recognition and appreciation of your service to the Township of Monroe, presented to Alan Weinberg. That was the beautiful guy I was talking about. Thank you for your years of dedication and service. Wishing you the best on the new adventure with much respect and gratitude. Serenity now, Mayor Stephen Delina and the Monroe Township Council, April 4th, 2025. Alan, well-deserved. Thank you.
So kind of hard to follow that. And I feel like I should be taking out my bar mitzvah speech with all those really nice comments. But I will be somewhat brief, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank first the mayor and council for their confidence in me, always giving me terrific feedback, and really helping to charter the course forward over these 8+ years. I have thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. In terms of helping to guide the town forward, along with, I must say, my colleagues who I do want to mention. This is an easy job if you have good colleagues and fellow employees who are professional, which we have, hardworking, dedicated, and focused on making the township better. I choose not to highlight any one particular employee or one department because I don't really want to leave anyone out. But as you know from your careers in life, either currently or in the past, you're only as good as the team that you have. And if you take care and focus on them and helping provide leadership, they will do the same for you, and they are dedicated to the township. And that made my job much easier, whether it was during a snowstorm or an emergency or the day-to-day operations of the township, and allowed us to achieve some really great things, both financially and in providing services. So I thank them. I also want to thank the residents, because at the end of the day, both myself and all the employees serve at the pleasure of the residents. So we appreciate the opportunity to serve. I do want to also, talk a little bit about some of the things we were able to accomplish, because I do think over 8 years, we were able to keep us on solid financial footing, which I think is one of the great achievements as we tried to move forward with all the different things that we were able to tackle. But I do want to, be somewhat brief because I know there's a lot of agenda items to get to. I am used to sitting in this seat over here, and so I'll be leaving after my speech, which is a little bit unusual. But just a heartfelt thanks to the mayor, the council, my colleagues, and the residents. This has probably been the highlight of my professional life so far as I move on to other things. And I just want to personally thank everyone for the opportunity for these past 8+ years. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
You're not getting away without each of us on the council having something to say too. I'm going first because I met you first. Alan and I started together. I was appointed to the council when he was appointed to as the business administrator. And I've always remembered what I said to him. I said, we will learn together as we go forward. And indeed, that we have done is learn together. One never knew when a text message would arrive from Alan because every member of the council was always so carefully informed of what was happening. And we always knew. Because whether it was a Saturday, a Sunday, or sometimes 10 o'clock at night, if Alan thought it was important that we know something, Alan made sure that we knew something so that you never felt left out or behind or whatever. It was a collegial relationship all the time because that is how he functions. I know he will bring those same strengths to his next employer who will thank us for what a joy it is to have Alan Weinberg as an employee. So I certainly wish you well. I am going to ask Terry, as the vice chair of the council, to speak next.
Thank
Please.
you, Madam President. Appreciate that. What do you look for in a business administrator?
Alan.
You want someone intelligent. You want someone that shows professionalism, has good business acumen, pleasant demeanor helps. Someone that knows what to do, how to get it done, how to get along with people, and having a little quick wit can help a little bit to some extent to make things a little bit easier for all of us. I could go on and on about specific times, but Alan exhibits all those things. He's done a wonderful job for our township. I think so many of the things he did, whether it be refinancing our debt and things of that nature, they're basically go unnoticed by the town, but they're the little things that kept our taxes down and kept our town running smoothly. And for that, we appreciate you and wish you the best.
Ward 1, hello.
Well, I don't think your wit's that great, by the way. I just want to say I'm I guess the newest member on the council, and Alan, I want to thank you for everything you did for me to keep me informed over the last couple of years. We've not only worked together, and we became friends and I really appreciate that. And truthfully, I'm sad to see you go. Very sad to see you go. You did a great job here. Everybody knows that. The old saying, everything starts from the top, are the people that work here in Monroe are good people because you're a good person. And it's in your heart that you're a good person, and I truly appreciate that. And good luck in whatever you're going to do now. We're going to miss you. Believe me, I'm going to miss you. Take care.
Councilwoman Ward 2.
Good evening. Alan, this is kind of rough because I think I must have given you about 5 hugs last week every time I came into the office. I wish you congratulations, and I think there's an Alan spot in my heart because I have relied on you for your wisdom and your knowledge around municipal government. You've taught me so much over the last couple years, and your leadership and dedication to the township is just tremendous. There are big shoes that are going to need to be filled, but I don't want to get too emotional, but I just want to thank you. And I know I'm going to have to go into work tomorrow. And, whenever there's a snowstorm, I don't think I've ever shared, I don't know if I've shared this before. People at work ask me, did Alan call you yet and tell you about the storm? How bad is this storm? So you're a legend in yourself. So I thank you. And I thank you for all your friendship over the years.
Councilman DePiero.
Thank you. Alan, your experience, your knowledge that you brought to Monroe is second to none. You helped us in every way that, during COVID, during the hard times, as you said, with the snowstorms, and keeping everybody informed. And, as the mayor said, I'm surprised to see this many people here, but it's a good thing. It's a really good thing because there's this many people here when you entered Monroe and you became part of this family. And I just want to thank you personally for all the help that you helped us as a team, and also the residents, and also the workers, the employees, and everything that you look out for. It's not easy. And Sundays, it's like you worked every day for us. And I wish you well on your next journey, and good luck.
So we are come to the conclusion, except that, Alan always coordinated picture taking. So Kyle, where are you? Kyle's coordinating a 5-minute recess for us to take pictures, please. 5 minutes only. Thank you. I need to stand and walk a few paces. No, I'm just going to walk. Okay. Clerk gets back. The clerk is back. The clerk is back. Everyone's walking around. You ready for item 7 on the agenda? Item 7 on our agenda is the ordinance for second reading, 03-2025-006. Bond ordinance appropriating 400, I'm sorry, you read. I'm sorry.
Ordinance 03-2025-006, bond ordinance appropriating $406,000 from developer payments to provide for the improvement of the Southfield Estates Pump Station and the Hidden Pond Pump Station in and by the Township of Monroe in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey.
Please read 8. The ordinance is for introduction at the April 7th meeting, 2025 regular meeting.
Ordinance 04-2025-007, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Ordinance 04-2025-008, ordinance authorizing the acceptance of one property known as Block 52, Lot 2.05. Ordinance 04-2025-009, ordinance approving the traffic signal improvements for Applegarth Road and Joan Warren Way. Ordinance 04-2025-010, ordinance amending the Code of the Township of Monroe under Chapter 108, Section 6.23 to amend the medical facility requirements in the Planned Retirement Community District 2.
At this point, I would like to turn this over to our mayor, please.
Thank you, Madam Council President. I know this is a ordinance where there's a lot of members of the public here, and I know there's a lot of strong feelings on both sides in regard to the current nursing requirement for PRC number 2. And I just wanted to provide some commentary in regards to that as we progress during the evening. I just want to let everyone know here, and obviously I've talked to many of you, that it's been a struggle in deciding and thinking about and gathering the data over the many months now, in which started when the Stonebridge HOA presented us with the resolution. And we've been hearing certainly both sides of the story. And since the initial contact, I've heard from a number of Stonebridge residents on both sides, and also to be included are many members of other gated communities as well as in general the public in regards to, well, what are you doing with this nursing ordinance? So it's especially the last couple of months have been just the information gathering has been at its peak. The ordinance proposed tonight would place Stonebridge in the same position as the 14 other gated communities in Monroe, allowing them, again, just speaking regarding the ordinance, allowing them the freedom to make their own choice in respect to nursing services in their community. Now, neither myself or any of the council members were here 20 years ago when this ordinance was created, so we're dealing with it tabula rasa. We're dealing with it what's presented now, the information and the facts and the opinions. Now that the Stonebridge HOA resolution has tasked this council on the agenda tonight to move forward in whatever capacity that is thought to be fair and equitable for the residents of the Township of Monroe. Now, let me be clear that this issue is not about whether nursing services are beneficial or effective. I know they are. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've gathered the experiences from others. If I lived in Stonebridge or any other gated community, I would vote yes for the HOA to have nursing services. That's how important I believe it is. But sharing my own governmental thoughts, I feel that each community should have its own freedom of choice, as the 14 of the 15 private other senior communities already have, to make healthcare decisions for themselves. Monroe Township takes its responsibility to provide emergency medical services very, very seriously. And I think you all know, if I make this statement, that our emergency services are second to none, you will not disagree with me. But the residents should have the freedom of choice to determine what their day-to-day healthcare services they want from themselves, as many of the other communities in this township already experience. I understand and deeply respect the position of all of the residents affected, and I will continue to encourage Stonebridge residents and all residents to support in their homeowners association nurse services as it is an incredible beneficial healthcare service to have. Madam Council President, I thank you. Residents, I thank you so much for indulging me with my remarks.
Thank you. And I do have some remarks of my own that I wish to add, because my perspective is probably somewhat unique, because as I'm a member of the Township Council, but I'm also a former member of the HOA in the community in which I live. And I served as president of the Board of Trustees for 6 years and sat on the board for 10 years, which I think is a really long time. And one of my perspectives was that we had nursing services 24 hours a day and that I believed that they were important. I've been a registered nurse for a really, really long time. And nursing has been my life's work and continues to be, because I continue to work part-time. So while the mayor has said it first, the matter on the agenda is not about the quality or quantity of nursing services, because we all know, and I certainly know, how valuable they are. It is about who gets to decide how they are provided. And in all of our other communities in town, it is the board that does. And one would hope that the board will continue to provide that very high level of nursing services that you currently provide. I know that the nurse is a wonderful benefit to all the residents, and I will always advocate for those services as a resident of my community. But as a municipal government elected official, we should not be representing or restricting a private community from making this kind of decision for themselves, as we have, as the mayor commented, for the other 14 communities. That is the fair thing to do. We all respect how all of you feel. I received a phone call from one of your residents who couldn't be at the meeting, and I was sure it was a toss-up of whether or not I was going to get changed and get here on time. I have heard from many of you. We have not made, or I have not come to my feelings and support for this change very lightly. It is not an easy decision to come to, but believe it is the appropriate one to come to. I think that our council members would like to comment as well. I will begin with the Ward 2 councilwoman, since Stonebridge is in her ward.
Thank you, Council President. So I know I've spoken with many residents of Stonebridge over the last several months. I've listened closely to the thoughts of the residents who are on both sides of the issue, and I appreciate all that has been shared with me. However, this issue is about fairness and freedom. We need to be fair to all the residents of Stonebridge and allow them to choose how they want their individual community to be governed, without needing approval or interference from the municipal government. This issue is about being fair to all residents of Stonebridge and allowing them the freedom to choose their own destiny and direction of their HOA. I value the profession of nursing at all levels. Nurses are extraordinary. But we aren't involved in the governments of the other 14 senior communities, HOAs, such as Greenbrier, Concordia, the Ponds, etc. While I am empathetic to the concerns of some, I'm supporting tonight's ordinance 010. But at the same time, I will continue to encourage Stonebridge to support nurse services if and when the matter comes before the HOA for a vote within the Stonebridge community. Thank you.
Mr. Markel, Ward 1, please.
As a councilman for Ward 1, I'm sorry. I also support 010. It's obviously not up to this council to make a determination on a private community, and let the community decide what they wish to do. I do hope that they continue with the best possible nursing care. Obviously, our EMS, our emergency services here are much better now than they ever were, especially 20 years ago. So we have great coverage of the community as far as our health concerns are. So I do just want to say I do support 010, and I want to say that they should be on the same level as all the other communities here, senior communities. Thank you.
Councilman DePiero.
Thank you. As a real estate broker, I look at it differently. As a resident, lifetime resident, I recall the reason why this ordinance came, this change zone of PRC2, it's because we were supposed to get a hospital in our town. And when we were supposed to get this hospital, the reason why was because the residents outside the community gates were saying, how come we're having all of these fire calls, first aid calls, police and everything going to the gated communities? So this ordinance was put in place back then to have the developers who basically reaped all the benefits by profits and everything that they sold to these developers made the profits from the residents that purchased these homes. And you do your due diligence before you purchase these homes. And there are some residents that go into these communities with the 24/7 in mind. So I'm not saying which way I'm going as far as voting for or not voting for this, but I want to listen to the residents, because we did receive, as our mayor said, and council president, we've received many emails over the past couple months, but it's also a concern of mine that if it's because of money, as a fire commissioner, which is a different hat I wear, money, when we sit on that board and panel, you don't put money in place of life and safety. So when you look at it for dollars and cents, that's the wrong way to, in my opinion, is to look at why are we cutting this out. I understand what my fellow council members and also our mayor saying about letting Stonebridge have the same rights and the responsibilities, and the board have the same rights that all the other 14 communities have. But there are some that cut it out. They're 24/7 on their own, and this kind of limits Stonebridge, which I totally understand. The reason why you guys keep coming to us and sending us emails, and as our mayor said, none of us were on the council when this was put in place. But I was in the audience, like where everyone is sitting today. I was sitting there years ago, and I know why this was put into place. And it's for the safety of the residents. So it's something that I'm going to have an open mind to continue to listen to your testimony and what everyone says, and I'll make a decision based on, as a real estate broker for 45 years, as a resident for a long time, and I understand you do your due diligence when you purchase a home. So, thank you.
Councilman Van Zura, please.
Thank you, Madam President. I could probably make a strong argument either way on this issue. There are strong arguments on both sides. The one side, obviously, is this ordinance was in place when people bought there. They may have had the expectation that that would be something that would remain in place. On the other hand, the other side is that this association is run by a board of trustees that's elected by the people who live in that community. And the members of that community do have a say in who they elect. So if the council was to support this ordinance and remove it, it does not mean that the council is saying that the nurse has to leave 24/7. It means that the decision will be up to the Board of Trustees, who are duly elected by the people who live in that development. The people that live in that development have every right to go to the Board of Trustees and to make their position known. And you would hope that if they make their position known and if they believe that having that nurse in place, then the Board of Trustees would go along with it. So there's arguments on both sides. I'll also listen to the people. I do understand, but I think this is something that really there's arguments on both sides. I will also listen and make my decision.
Thank you. I would just, for the benefit of those who may not regularly attend council meetings, this is all ordinances are read twice. So this is introduced tonight. It has one more reading here. And because of the nature of this ordinance, it will also have to be acted upon at the planning board. So that's the process. Cumbersome, yes, I see the look on your face. No doubt, cumbersome. But that is the process that will be followed. We have the resolution. Item 9 is resolutions for consideration under the consent agenda at the April 7th meeting, R4 2025-077 through R4 2025-102. I'm assuming all of us have reviewed the resolutions. You have some that you would like.
Just two.
Just two, please.
R4 2025-084. R4 2025-100.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have resolutions they would like removed from the consent agenda? Then we have a separate resolution, R4 2025. Of that I didn't notice. 102 is the resolution introducing our budget. Pardon? That's great. Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, we will do that at the next one. We're going to move to our public comment section. It is limited to agenda items only. People are, remember, you have 5 minutes per speaker. This chair is occupied. Your name and address for our records, please.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Levine, 38 Timber Hill Drive. I'm president of the HOA at Stonebridge. I would like to thank the mayor and the town council for placing the nurse ordinance back on the agenda for consideration. And I'm sorry you will hear some repetition. As we know, when Stonebridge was built in 2006, it was designated a PRC2 community. Therefore, it was required to have a registered nurse 24 hours a day. At that time, there were no fire, medical, or emergency services near Stonebridge. That situation has changed significantly in 19 years. Currently, there are 14 other 55-plus communities in Monroe. None of them are required by ordinance to provide full-time nursing services. Some other communities offer full-time nursing services, some have partial, and some have none. These decisions were made by each respective community. Stonebridge does not have the option to make its own decision due to its current classification. We are just asking to be treated on par with the other Monroe communities. Let me stress, the town council vote will not change our current 24-hour nursing coverage. It will only remove the township's requirement that we have such coverage. If the ordinance is passed, Stonebridge will be treated like the other 14 communities, and then we would simply have the opportunity to discuss and determine the type of coverage that best fits our community. Any possible future change to our nursing coverage must be approved by a 2/3 vote of the entire community. We know this is an emotional issue for residents on either side of the issue. Our goal is only to get parity with the other communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, please, your name and address for our records.
Gary Busman, 7 Monarch Road, Stonebridge. So are we only talking about Stonebridge this moment, or are we talking about the whole,
We're talking about this ordinance that was on.
but all of them or
Agenda-
one of them?
All the other agenda items
All the
as
other
well.
ones. First, let me talk about Stonebridge.
Remember,
right.
you have 5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes, very quickly. Mr. Van Doren explained concisely what the determination will be if and so that this ordinance is corrected and passed by the council. It will go back, and Barbara Levine said the same thing, to 2/3 vote within the community to decide what, if anything, they want to add, delete, or modify within the current proposal. So having said that, I am in support of this happening as long as it goes back to the residents to determine the outcome that they desire. My next item is, can someone please explain to me, just a minute, the 007 talks about appropriations to establish a cap budget. How much does this include as an increase to the current budget to meet the cap requirements?
Mr. McGowan, please.
Council President, so, Mr. Busman, this ordinance permits all municipalities to exceed the appropriations cap of 2.5% by an additional percentage point up to 3.5%. And that's what we are doing in our budget. So we have to pass this ordinance before the budget will allow us to accomplish that.
Just to reclassify that, it would increase, you're proposing an increase of 3%. You're going to use that additional total of 3% or not?
Our appropriations increase is 3.5%, I believe. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now I'd like to go to 093. I want to compliment the township attorney, the zoning board attorney, of which I am a member of, for the completion of the SLC development. If I said that incorrectly, I said it incorrectly. But we'll call it the Eagle's Nest, that it's come to a conclusion in favor of the township, which is a win, 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 win. I never understood when this first came up, and I asked at that meeting, I asked the attorneys for the developer how they missed this, and they came up with an unreasonable response, such as the farmer never told me. So I told him that they were stupid for doing this because they would have repercussions. So once again, thank the board, thank the attorneys, thank everybody, the business administrator, the mayor, for everybody that was resolved. And I'm also proud of the fact that they resolved the issue against former mayor Gerald Tamburo, who spoke up against this, and they challenged him and sued him in court, which they lost. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sir, yes. I think 2 of you are coming up, so why don't you just have a seat up here? You have to walk back. There's an empty chair over there.
Thank you very much. Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I want some, comment. I'll comment on R42025-094. I'm glad that we are acquiring 33.6 acres of land on 330 Schoolhouse Road for $2 million. So 33.6, 2 million divided by 33.6 comes to about $54,600 per acre. Okay, so as per the definition of open space, playgrounds, recreation area, parks, conservation areas, wildlife protection all fall under open space. My request is, we are paying $54,500 per acre. Have some land acquired, or if you have some land acquired from senior center to south of Monroe Township, please, we require playgrounds. So open space can be converted into playgrounds. So acquire some land for the playgrounds in that area. And if the open space is there in those areas, give a priority, because people are requesting south of senior center they need playgrounds, and far away they have parks and playground, because Thompson Park is far away. That Thompson Park is not, but recreation is on the other side of the town. Wish we had recreation center in the center of the town. I would have converted into, township center. So that is the request. Any comments? I'm ready to hear that. And another one is, I think the budget will be presented next month to the public. I appreciate that, but I'm not expert in reading all that 41 pages. The bottom line is, what is going to be a proposed municipal budget in millions? I know the school budget we don't have control, but I think it is $153 million. And I think we are paying 85 or 70% of that. And so municipal budget, entire, budget comes under municipal budget, district budget, school budget, fire district budget, so many classifications. So can anyone summarize what is the $1 million number we are proposing?
Mr. McGowan.
Council President, so, and the mayor's going to provide a budget message during his report as well. But the budget, I believe there are copies that are here. There are copies on our website. Tonight is just for introduction, and we'll have a budget hearing. But just to answer your question, Council President,
Yes,
so
please.
the total budget for Monroe for this year, as you'll see from the handouts, is $76.4 million. That's our budget for this year. We make up 18% of everyone's property tax in terms of the municipal part of the budget.
I'll appreciate if the mayor is presenting, I'll listen to it. Thank you very much.
Sir, your name and address for our records,
Hi,
please.
my name is Bob Levine, 85 Timber Hill Drive, Monroe here. I'm part of Stonebridge. And I just wanted to clarify a couple of things with Council Vice President.
You can't talk right to the mic.
I just wanted to clarify, because I heard words that came out when you were saying you weren't sure. First of all, I'm in favor of keeping the nurses forever, but I'm a math major and everything is black and white to me. And it's very simple, you have to make it equal to everyone from an ordinance standpoint. But what you said is that the board can make the choice. And I just wanted to clarify, the board has no choice in deciding for us whether we keep nurses or not. We vote on it. Okay, I know you said that. Okay, but I was just clarifying that because that's not how you phrased it earlier, and I wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Okay, just to point that out. And as far as Councilman, I moved in 2010, and there was a lot of restrictions as well that Lenore put on us and told us about it. So I had no problem about the nurse. But I did not know, nor were we told at the time, nor was anyone told that the other district was not under the same ordinance as us. So that's why I'm saying, even though I'm going to vote always to keep nurses at some level, the fairness of a black and white situation, what's good for one is good for another in our township.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Thank you for your comments. Ma'am? Okie dokie, who's going first?
Yes.
That's good. Your name and address for our records, please.
My name is Ava Barron. I live at 113 Cobblestone Boulevard in Stonebridge. I have been a resident of Stonebridge for 9 years, and I'm also a former Stonebridge HOA board member. I thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak to you tonight regarding this ordinance that requires the Stonebridge HOA to provide nurse services on a 24-hour basis. Can you hear me okay?
It's a little difficult. If you talk a little louder,
Okay.
we have trouble hearing, and that's not good.
I applaud the current Stonebridge Board of Directors for their willingness to listen to the views of all Stonebridge residents on this matter, and for attempting to create a solution that would satisfy all, or at least most, of Stonebridge residents. The existing ordinance requires that Stonebridge maintain a registered nurse on staff 24/7. The annual cost of providing these services is approximately $440,000. This constitutes a very large portion of the Stonebridge HOA budget and is one of our single largest expenditures. Yet currently, Stonebridge residents have no voice in what nursing services properly serve our needs. By contrast, residents in all 14 similar communities in Monroe are free to decide what nursing services will be offered, and they can tailor them in ways that they consider best suits their needs. In this regard, the existence ordinance is unfair to Stonebridge residents. Indeed, the disparity of Stonebridge, the treatment of the township's ordinance is so glaringly unfair that Stonebridge residents have queried me to explain to them how it could even be legal for a township ordinance to be so discriminatory. I am aware that some Stonebridge residents who support retaining the existing ordinance provide personal stories about how the nurse may have helped save them or a loved one. But as emotionally compelling as these stories are, they tend to divert our attention away from other valid questions that should be addressed. The issue is not whether Stonebridge should have nursing services and whether or not they are actually beneficial. Those are questions that actually need to be addressed and should be addressed by the Stonebridge community. If having a nurse available on a 24/7 basis actually is necessary to save lives, shouldn't we conclude that all other 55-plus HOA communities in Monroe similarly have such service to protect its residents? Are HOAs that do not provide a 24/7 nursing service being negligent by not protecting their own residents with such nursing services? Moreover, if the township accepts the claim that having a 24-hour nursing service is in fact a life or death necessity, as some claim it might be, then shouldn't the township conclude that such nursing services be required of all its HOAs? At this juncture, our Stonebridge Board rightly raises what we should pay attention to, the fundamental question that needs to be addressed by this council. Will the township grant Stonebridge the same right to determine its nursing services as all other 55-plus HOAs in Monroe Township? Or will it continue a policy that is glaring in its disparate impact on Stonebridge? I ask that the council keep in mind that the Stonebridge Board's request to amend the ordinance does not mean that the Stonebridge HOA will eliminate its nursing services. Far from it. What it does mean is that Stonebridge residents themselves will make this decision. Bear in mind that the Stonebridge Board established a very high bar to make any change to existing nursing services. Eliminating or even modifying existing services will require the votes of 2/3 of Stonebridge residents. That is a very high bar, a burden extremely difficult to overcome. In other words, any change to our nursing services would occur only if a substantial consensus among Stonebridge residents emerged.
You've reached your time limit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Your name and address for our records, please.
Stanley Fisher, 112 Timber Hill Drive. Regardless of the outcome of this issue, I thank the mayor and the town council members for raising their hands and serving all of us in the community. As to this issue, it appears to be an uphill battle for some of us, but I'm a Jets fan. I'm used to that. Our board is saying to you that nothing will be changed, and you just heard it, without approval of 2/3 of all the residents. However, this 2/3 requirement is included in our HOA's board resolution that they sent you requesting the amendment, but it is not in the amendment itself. And several attorneys have told us that this could be changed by this or any other future board. They could come back in the future in 6 months and say, why do we need 2/3? Why not just a simple majority? Or why should anybody vote? Why not let the board itself decide on everyone's behalf? The board could have asked the township to codify the 2/3 requirement as part of the amendment, so as to preclude this or a future board from changing its mind. But they did not. We stand opposed to the amendment, but at a minimum, it should have, or if you should consider it again in the future, a provision codifying the 2/3 requirement. And this should not be controversial. In other communications with you, they have said that 53% of the community voted in a survey to eliminate this mandate. The survey was originally sent out to homeowners' email addresses, which meant that a two-address household, which is most of us, received 2 votes. A one-address household, be it a single person or couples sharing an address, got only 1 vote. And if you didn't register your email address with the board, you got no votes. So this was not a fair survey. Furthermore, this was a push poll. When they introduced the survey to the community, they said the board's position to eliminate the mandate. You don't do that if you want it to be impartial. The bigger problem, however, well, I spoke about this being a push poll. In its release of the survey's results to the community, they said that 53% of the residents wanted to eliminate the mandate. That was completely untrue. It was 53% of the respondents. And when you consider the large number of people who didn't get to participate, we estimate that it was somewhere between 26 and 30% who wanted to eliminate the mandate. That's hardly a significant amount. Perhaps the most egregious, well, I spoke about the 53%. Also, when they asked the question about the mandate, you either you wanted to keep the mandate or reject the mandate. And they failed to tell you, and they failed to point out to the residents, that when you were actually checking off the eliminate mandate box, they added 7 additional words after that, which will not affect our nursing services. Now, the only way, the primary reason people want to reduce or eliminate services is to save money. The only way you're saving money is to reduce the services. So this was a fallacy that they communicated to you. Sadly, residents who came here a year ago are unable to be here tonight because of significant health issues. I, as a person who spent his working career as a CPA and financial executive, measured issues always in dollars and cents. And I can tell you, for those not here tonight, and indeed for all of us, this is not such an issue. This is one of life and death. In lives made better, years well enjoyed, and lived as full as possible, with much of our thanks going to the wonderful team of nurses we have at Stonebridge. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your service.
Anyone else wishing to address us, please come forward. Your name and address for our records, please.
Good evening. Lucio Panos, 1208 C. Landera Plaza, Monroe. Regarding Ordinance 007, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation, what specifically caused this to happen? What specific bills? 1% is a lot of money. You didn't do a quarter. You're not proposing a 0.25% or a 0.5%. A 1% increase over the limit doesn't seem right to me. So are there specific issues that prompted this?
Mr. McGowan, you want to answer that, or have Ms. Zola answer that?
Sure. Lori, do you want to?
Laura, you want to answer that, please?
Every year we do this ordinance in order to be able to store some of the money that we're not spending. So it's a bank that we put aside every year. So if you look at sheet 3B on the budget form, you'll see it all spelled out for you, and it shows that each year we were able to bank about $500,000 and not use it. This isn't adding money to what we're spending. This is giving us the ability that if something changed, if there was some kind of emergency, and say next year we needed to increase our budget for whatever reason, that we had this bank put away. We haven't used it, and you can see it all spelled out on sheet 3B.
It still doesn't make sense to me. I think we should stay within our limits.
We are not exceeding our limits. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Then why even propose this? Okay, I disagree. I just think it's...
You certainly have the right to disagree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Mr. McGowan.
just to add, Council President, this is something that we do every year, and that many, if not most, municipalities provide themselves that flexibility.
I still disagree. It doesn't seem right.
You're right. Yes. Sir, your name and address for our record.
Erwin Rothbard, 91 Diamond Spring Drive, happens to be in Stonebridge. Self-determination and fairness, the issue on which many of you in front of me said you are going to decide this matter. Stonebridge decided for itself by invoking the provisions of PRC 2 with more than 600 homes that require a nurse. Every one of us who moved in over the last 17 years either knew or should have known of our zoning ordinance provision that a nurse was required by the township. So everyone here decided, they made their own determination previously. There's no reason to give anyone a do-over. It was done. We relied on it, we moved in, and I think we're entitled to it. Now, just because no one...
Would you lean back a little further from the mic?
I'm sorry.
We're hearing your voice.
I'm unaccustomed to...
Don't apologize. None of us seem to do really well with mics. We need a class, Mike.
The fact that no other community is required by the township at this time to have a nurse doesn't make the ordinance unfair to Stonebridge, or to its residents who got exactly what they wanted. And it's a very nice community, and they're pleased to live there. Now, it was reckless for Stonebridge's board to say that there's no longer a rational basis or no longer a rationale for a nurse, or that she is obsolete, supposedly because of urgent care facilities and our EMS services. The urgent care facilities are open less than half of the time as our nurse office, do not come to your home, and tell you not to go to them if you have an emergency. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. EMS is wonderful, but neither the nurse nor EMS replace each other. They do different things. They help each other. Now, the survey that was taken was actually a push poll geared to obtain the response sought by the board. Nonetheless, the results showed an underwhelming 6% margin for residents who responded that they wanted to eliminate the nurse. At most, we are a divided community, and certainly there is no mandate to revoke the mandate of the ordinance. That just is not the case. Fourth, the Stonebridge resolution says that if the township revokes its nurse protection, Stonebridge will not change nursing services without the vote of 2/3 homeowners. Now, unfortunately, any board has the same power as a prior board to change a resolution, generally. Stan Fisher mentioned that if indeed you do decide to allow the mandate to be suspended or eliminated by a 2/3 vote, you can simply add a paragraph to the amendment. You don't have to do away with it. Finally, Stonebridge proved that it is possible to obtain the votes of a 2/3 majority. Electronic voting is permitted, and the election that was held was not closed until sufficient votes were cast so they had 2/3. It wasn't on the nurse issue, it was on a different issue. But 2/3 is something that could be very real. So what we're discussing now is not academic, even if a vote should be held of the residents. The nurse could be restricted or eliminated as a possibility, and we came here with the understanding and assurance by this township that we would live in a community with a nurse. We could have gone anywhere within Monroe Township. It's a lovely place to live. Now, my conclusion, the nurse and the ordinance have served us well for 17 years. Insufficient facts and no expert analysis is given.
Sorry, your time is up. I thank you for your comments. Your name and address for our records, please.
Sorry. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
My name is Chrissy Skirby. I live at 21 Preakness Drive. I wanted to just address this ordinance proposal change. I moved my mother to Monroe after my father died when Stonebridge was first, when the idea of Stonebridge was first brought forward. And we waited online to be one of the first to put down a deposit on her home, where she's been living ever since. And we looked at many adult communities throughout Monroe, and having a 24-hour nurse was very important for her. She was only in her 60s at that time. Now she's 80. She has COPD. She's on oxygen. And that nurse has come to my mother's home in the middle of the night and has been very beneficial for her. And I know a lot of her friends as well. The nurse in the middle of the night has been very beneficial too. I think we need to not look at this as about fairness. We need to look at why this ordinance was put in place by Mayor Pucci and that council back in 2002. This side of Monroe, where I live in Ward 2, was not developed at all. There was no Oak Tree School, there was no Monroe Chase, there was no Monroe Manor across 33. Nothing existed. Southfield did not exist. Colts Run did not exist. Federal did not even go through to Perineville from Applegarth. It was all farmlands. And if you look at what we see now when we drive down Applegarth Road with all of these new communities, I have no idea how many. It has to be thousands upon thousands of new residents that have come in. That was planned. That was in a master plan. The township council and the mayor knew that building was going to take place. This ordinance was put in place, and Lennar had a choice. They did not have to build a 950 unit development. They could have built 599 homes, and this ordinance would not have pertained to them. They decided to go for maximum revenue, and they built over the 600, and now they had to conform to this ordinance. That was a decision of the builder. And like other residents have said, every single person that bought was told that there would be a 24-hour nurse, and it was mandated by the township. To take that away from these residents now, that is not fair. Everybody who bought knew that that was what they were having. And you need to, as a council, look at why the ordinance was put in place. What does this mean to outside of the gates of Stonebridge? I've emailed a couple of questions. How many towns does Monroe EMS currently respond to as primary EMS or backup? If you overturn the ordinance and Stonebridge decides to not have a 24-hour-a-day nurse, have you done any research into the influx of calls to 911 in Ward 2? How will the rest of the town be affected by you repealing this ordinance?
Do you have other questions?
Yes. I just would like to know how you can sit here and cast a vote if you have not looked into all of that information. And we have two council people here that I know, Mr. Markle and Mr. Siegel. You were not here living in Monroe Township when this ordinance was put in place. And I really think you need to go back and look at the history of why this was done.
Would you please address your comments to me and not to individual council people? Please, thank you.
Sure. I think it's very important to understand the impact, the reasons why this ordinance was not put in place to hurt residents in Stonebridge or to punish them. There was a real planning reason behind this by former councils and a former mayor. And I think that before you decide to overturn that ordinance, you really have to do your due diligence to understand why that was put in place. This isn't just about fairness. This is about understanding your role and understanding why this township, for this many years, had an ordinance in place for the township, for and if you want to talk about EMS services, like I said, none of these developments existed. So currently, our EMS is second to none. It is amazing. My family has had to utilize it. They have been amazing. But there is you can see every day. I mean, we see our ambulances up and down Applegarth. They are definitely working very hard. And I just want to know what you think the increase will be on them and if that has been explored. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if I could get an answer to some of my questions.
Sir, may I take a moment and introduce to those of you who do not know our Director of EMS Services from Monroe Township.
In reference to your question on primary, we are primary for Monroe Township only. We have no signed agreements with any other town. We do provide mutual aid services, but it's on a as-needed basis and pending on call volume. So we do turn calls back to other towns. We will not send our last truck out. So we do keep our last truck in town and available at all times. And we have sent trucks to other towns and have recalled them back if our volume picked up.
And how many towns do we do that with?
Anybody around us. So it's mutual aid. It's anybody that calls around. So we've had towns from East Brunswick, Spotswood that call for us. And if we have somebody available, we'll send them. If not, we turn the call back to them. So not having agreements allows us to do that. So we don't have primary response to anybody except for Monroe.
Okay.
In reference to the call volume, with some of the changes that some of the other communities have made, we have not seen any increase in call volume that was dramatic, that they got rid of their night nurse. So now all of a sudden we see an influx of calls. They've remained the same. We've been looking back through the numbers, and if we had to make changes, we would move trucks around and add crews if needed. So just to answer your question and about the call volume and how things will be.
And which communities were those that took their 24-hour nurse away?
Rossmore took their nurse down from midnights and 3 to 11s, and I believe they put one 9 to 5 now. And then Whittingham just recently got rid of their midnight nurse.
And the rest have a 24-hour nurse?
No, only Clearbrook and Concordia, I believe, are the two that have 24.
Okay, so Clearbrook, Concordia, and Stonebridge have 24-hour nurses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I really hope that you will consider not changing the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sir, your name and address for our records.
Yes, my name is Mark Schiffman. I live at 184 Diamond Spring Drive in Stonebridge. And I totally agree with what that lady just said. And let me say this about our EMT services here in Monroe Township, because I know something about it. My son was an EMT early in his career. His wife also was an EMT. So I do know something about it from a personal standpoint. They do provide excellent services. But we definitely need nursing services at night to supplement, and even during the daytime, to supplement our own EMTs. Because as good as they are, they don't arrive at our homes like that. They don't. And many times it's more than just that, it's that. And for whatever reason, because maybe they're off serving other people. And I have personally seen that happen. And I know also I know people in our community whose spouses or partners were saved by our nurses at various times of the day, not just during the day, but at night, by our nurses. And I saw it, one incident happen just about a year ago, when our nurse arrived where somebody was hurt, and she served that person very, very well. And by the way, she herself called 911 when I went running to get her. And she called 911. She arrived to help that woman that was injured, and she did a great job. The first arrival came a few minutes after the incident. It was reported by 911, but it wasn't an EMT. It was the fire department. Minutes went by, and finally the EMT got there. And the EMT wagon, whatever, the truck, whatever you want, the vehicle. And they did a great job too. But thank goodness the nurse was there. And I know for a fact, as I said, that the nurses have done similar life-saving work before an EMT came. And it wasn't years ago in the early days. It was in the last 10 years. So there's a big difference. And what you said earlier is very important.
Would you please address your comments to me?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. I apologize.
Don't have to
Now,
apologize.
the other thing is, and not to get political, but on the national scene, terrible things are happening to healthcare nationally.
But not locally in Monroe.
Okay. No, hold on a second.
Please.
Hold on a second.
Make me do this.
What I'm saying is that there are other reasons why this is being done. Why is the board endorsing the notion of eliminating the current ordinance?
Folks,
I have had
would you let him speak?
private.
Please.
Thank you. I've had private conversations with board members a couple of months ago, and the notion came about. The reason is what they want to do is cut back on nursing services, the quality of the level of nursing services, particularly in the nighttime hours. They want to lower the service from a nurse down to a different level. I think that's wrong. And maybe things have changed in the last couple of months, but that's the reason. To save money, similar to what the excuse is on the national
We're
level.
not discussing national.
I know, but I'm just saying it's a similarity. And I think the council ought to think of, regardless of your party, just think of what's best for the people, just like all the council people were saying that earlier. What's best for the people? What is best for the people? And so many of the residents deliberately moved into Stonebridge because of 24-hour nursing services. Don't undermine that notion now. What is going to happen to these people? Because God forbid something bad happens to one of them and an unforeseen accident occurs and it takes a little while for an EMT to come in and do a great job. But in the meantime, there should be a nurse there tending to that person. There really should be. And that's a really basic point. And our people really want, so many people really want to maintain the 24-hour nurses. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Member Paul Onish, 10 Aqueduct Road, Stonebridge Development. Good evening, Council President and Council members and Mayor. As a past Stonebridge Board member, I appreciate the efforts that Monroe Township oversees, like the police, fire, EMS, EMT, water, sewage, and other township departments. But please stay out of our private HOA. Let us decide what we want and when we want to have it. Thank you.
Folks. Sir, your name and address for our records, please.
Yes, Michael Frisch, 119 Timber Hill Drive, Stonebridge. This is a situation where a few people have gotten together and are not looking what's best for the community. What's best for the community is for the community to make decisions for themselves. As far as we have the best EMTs, we have the best fire departments, and we have the best police. as you know, Councilman DePiero, you're a commissioner in one, I'm a commissioner in two, and the fact is that they've changed responses. Fire department is now responding to certain calls, unresponsive, unconscious. They're also responding with EMTs. The EMTs, I'm always in the firehouse, and I will tell you that I talk to the EMTs, and I say, did the nurse show up? Was the nurse ever there? No, we took care of it ourselves. I'm not saying there's not any, I am for a nurse. Personally, I am for a nurse. But I want to tell you, I believe very strongly that the community should make its own decision and take this out of the town's hands. It's more importantly that we have parity with everybody else. That's the most important thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Your name and address for our records, please.
Good evening. Howard Enton, 129 Timber Hill Drive, Stonebridge resident. I'd like to keep my comments away from the emotion of the whole situation. That speaks to the, most of the situation here. Two things, and only two things. A suggestion was made earlier by one of the speakers that I'm not sure, I'm sorry, the process here, one of the first times I've been here, the ordinance might include some provision about Stonebridge's use of the nurse. That was a suggestion that was made. Why doesn't the ordinance include something specific about Stonebridge and the nursing services? To do so would also just create the same situation that exists now. It would not be the same ordinance that applies to everybody. You're not about to pass an ordinance that reintroduces a situation different than how it applies to all the other communities. So either we are free to make these decisions or not. But more practically, and you can see it demonstrated by the emotion here that exists in the community as well. Practically speaking, aside from all of the conversations here, with this high level of emotion about the use of the nurse, and that without specificity, the mere fact that any board at Stonebridge that would seek to eliminate the nurse would be a very short-lived board. Clearly, the community wants to have a nurse. As was mentioned, how that works, whether it's exactly the same as is now or otherwise, the fact remains that emotion runs so strong, as I said, no board would exist for very long if they were to do something that was contrary to the wishes of the community. And the community cares about the nursing services. So I just think some of the emotion that goes on here and the stories that are told are all real. People have experienced those kinds of things, but it's a very simple thing. The ordinance has to apply equally. The requirement has to either exist or not exist equally among all the communities. And at the same time, realistically, Stonebridge Board and the community is not likely to ever allow. It was the Stonebridge Board that offered up to 2/3 majority as opposed to majority equal half plus one. So the mere fact that they created such a high standard was to ensure the fact that it would be very difficult, if ever, to secure a change in the current process.
Thank you for your comments. Ma'am, your name and address for our records, please.
My name is Debbie Pavlichko. I live at 182 Diamond Spring Drive in Stonebridge. I wanted to say I've been listening to what a lot of people are saying, and I agree with, well, let me put it this way.
Into the mic, please.
Okay. The board has said that they are not for changing the current nursing services. They also say they do not support the removal of nursing services. However, they are speaking for the board as they are today. There will be boards in the future who may not agree with that. Changing this requirement opens the door for that change. And it's been said here that people bought their homes with the idea that they would have 24 hours nursing services, and feeling that that was a comforting thing for them. My husband and I bought it that way. And yes, there are a lot of stories in the community about people who have had issues, and I will say this. A number of years ago, my husband had heart surgery in New York City. He came home, he was recuperating, and then one morning he just did not feel well. And like we all do, we say, oh, it's not that bad. I'll give it some time. Maybe I'll feel better because it's a Saturday morning and the doctor's not in the office. Well, he went to the nurse's office, and she determined immediately that he not only needed to go to the emergency room, he needed to be transported by ambulance. I couldn't drive him. She said, no, he's going by ambulance. He went to the emergency room, and he had to be sent by medical transport back to the hospital in New York City where he had the surgery. He recovered, but I believe, my husband believed, that she saved his life that day. Her quick determination in assessing his situation saved his life. Now, yes, I'm all for saving money. I economize for myself. But when you start to put a dollar amount on people's lives, and yes, it may not happen every day, every week, every month, the statistics may be low, but statistics are numbers. We're talking about people. The EMTs serve Monroe Township and Stonebridge. The nurse serves Stonebridge. Our residents, who she gets to know, she knows some of their medical history, which allows her to make a quicker determination. So again, I say that I understand the idea of fairness. However, we boast about the amenities of Stonebridge, what a big clubhouse we have, and we have a big pool, and we have this and we have that. But we can also boast about that 24-hour nursing care. The young woman who was up here and spoke about her mother. Her mother is alone. So we don't all have our spouses with us. Some of us are alone. And when something happens, we want to be able to get help to our house quickly because we don't have someone to assist us. So please consider this when you do, that this is a safeguard. And you cannot put a dollar amount. I didn't put a dollar amount on my husband's life. I can't put it on my neighbor's life. I hope my neighbor never needs to have emergency services. But if he does, I want to think that when she gets there, she's going to determine things quickly, and she's going to help him get the care that he needs at that point. And I know the EMTs are great, but as I said, the nurse serves the residents, 946 homes. People who are getting older, who have health issues, who live alone. And as I said, the board may not feel that they want to make any changes, but next year's board or the board after that, they have the ability to do that then, and it's a concern for a lot of us. So I ask you to please consider that when you go over this and a lot of the points that have been brought up at this point, at this meeting.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir?
Yes.
Your name
my
and
name's
address for
Peter
the record, please.
My name is Peter Endiro, 62 Drawbridge Drive. I think this goes a little bit more than just the nurses' services. It's home rule. It's more than just the nurses. Let's not just concentrate on that. It's everything else. It's an ordinance, yes, to the nurses, but it can be to anything else. We at Stonebridge have a right to determine our own course. This also has to do, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think Title 39 comes into effect as well. So it's not just the nurses, it's the concept of home rule. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ma'am, your name and address for our records, please.
Yes, my name is Glenda Bella. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. My name is Glenda Bella, and I live with my husband, Paul, at 14 Cobblestone Boulevard. The last time I spoke to the board was in June 2024. Speaking to the Monroe Township Board for me is leaping out of my comfort zone because I prefer being home, having dinner with my husband, Paul, and little Poodle, who's usually perched on a kitchen chair eyeing my dinner with never-ending hope that I'll forget he just ate his own dinner. I'm talking about my dog, not my husband there. This agenda item is of great importance to us personally. Here's a little backstory on why I say this. 17 years ago, we traveled from our home in Columbia, Maryland to search for a location closer to my daughter's home in West Windsor. We found 3 communities that offered many of the advantage we would enjoy for living a good life in our senior years, and the advantages were all very similar. It was going to be a difficult choice because the communities that we were focusing on had similar advantages. We tried to read the documents given to us by the communities we were considering, as well as the township documents. So we did do due diligence. It was a daunting task until we discovered the zoning ordinance that affected Stonebridge, one of the communities we were considering. Hallelujah. That was the deal maker for us. Not only would we have a nurse on site 24/7, but we were assured that the benefit of an on-site nurse was here to stay and not likely to disappear with the passing of time. I'm speaking to you tonight because with the passing of time, this is what happened to me and Paul and many of our neighbors. We got older. The nurse became one more insurance for us if and when something related to a health issue happened in our lives. We could call on the nurse and her or his response would be immediate. I'm speaking to you tonight because Paul and I feel as if the rug has been pulled out from under us. Or to put it another way, picture yourself at the 5th floor window of a burning building. There is a wall of fire blocking the stairway. The firemen holding the safety net below are shouting, "Jump, jump." So you step into the void, glance down, and the safety net is no longer there. Just picture that. It wasn't there when you gathered your courage to jump. Well, that may not be the best analogy, but that is how I think. Rules, regulations, contracts, law, all can be modified. But it's my belief that this modification needs to be very carefully considered. It could save a life one day, or maybe it already has. And that's what I have to say.
We thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
Sir, your name and address for our records, please.
Good evening. My name is Bernard Meyer, and my address is 155 Cobblestone Boulevard at Stonebridge. I've been a Stonebridge resident about eight years. A lot of comments tonight. I'm going to try to keep my remarks brief.
Good.
A lot of issues, a lot of opinions have been offered tonight, but I think it should not obscure, it shouldn't obfuscate the fact that there are 2 basic issues before us. The first issue is whether Stonebridge should be subject to a requirement that does not apply to any other gated community in our area. I have not heard anything tonight. I have not heard one logical, compelling reason as to why Stonebridge is subject to this requirement. The second issue, and it's certainly related, is the level of medical service that Stonebridge is willing to provide and for which its residents are willing to pay. And that is certainly very important. I've heard that tonight, and that's a legitimate concern. I think some of the people who have expressed their objection to this amendment feel that if the amendment is passed, it is simply a prelude to a following discussion on the level of service, medical services that are going to be provided, whether they're going to be continued or modified or eliminated. That's a legitimate concern. And at some point down the road, that discussion may well take place. However, that is legitimately something for the board and ultimately for the community residents to decide. We're not discussing whether we provide services tonight or what lives are being saved. We are discussing first whether Stonebridge should be subject to this requirement, and following that, the community will make a decision. This is a country in which we have majority rule. I do not believe that the board, having gone before the community and this council, with a commitment to require 2/3 of the members, not voting people, but 2/3 of the members of the entire community are going to renege on that. It's not going to happen. And as a previous speaker noted, 2/3 is a very high bar. It can be reached, but it's a high bar. It's considered a supermajority. And if at some future point the community decides it, then we have to live with that decision, because that's what a supermajority of the community wanted to do. But I urge you tonight to pass this amendment, because there is simply, when all of the talk is said and done, we haven't heard anything tonight that would convince us why Stonebridge should be uniquely subjected to this requirement. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sir, your name and address for our records.
My name is Alan Tannenbaum. I live at 26 Diamond Spring Drive in Stonebridge. Actually, I agree with this gentleman who just spoke, but I happen to be a cardiologist and a fire commissioner in District 2. Short and sweet. We're not here to debate whether we need a nurse or not. Nobody's saying that we don't need a nurse. The stories are very nice. The nurse did this, the nurse did that. I'm sure she supplies compassion to people, and she does what she's supposed to do. But our medical system in District 2 especially, if the EMTs can't respond to a call, the fire department responds to the call. All our firefighters, our paid firefighters, are EMTs in District 2, and they do respond to all the calls if the EMTs can't respond. So the care is there, and they can be there. We live 2 minutes across the street from the fire department. They can be there in 2 minutes. So again, we're not debating whether we need a nurse. Nobody is saying that we do not need a nurse. We probably do need a nurse, but we're debating whether we have the right to decide whether we need a nurse and for how long we need the nurse. And that's the main issue. All these stories about how the nurse saved my life and this and that, that's fine. And I believe all that. The nurses are they do a terrific job, but that's not the issue. The issue is whether we should choose whether we need a nurse or not. And that's the bottom line. And there's nothing else to say.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
My name is Ellen Panzer Schwartz. I live at 19 London Drive. I usually don't comment on things, but this is my wheelhouse. Healthcare is my wheelhouse. Healthcare is the thing that's so important to me. I moved to a senior community here 6 years ago. I moved with my husband, and then I also moved my mother in, who had complicated health issues. The first thing I have to say is I've never lived in an HOA kind of a community before, and I've never lived in a senior community before. And I will say that the running in mine, which is not Stonebridge, it's Greenbrier at Whittingham, has been an organization where I feel that the residents are standing up for their rights. I don't see any community within, and I have to tell you, my parents lived in Concordia, so Monroe and senior communities I've known about. All of these communities, these senior communities, are phenomenal, and at their apex are looking at the healthcare and the welfare of their citizens. And in listening to what's been going on, I agree with everyone the importance of having quality EMS, quality healthcare, people that are looking out for you, people that you can reach at any time. And in my life, and I was doctor for sports for New York City, I had a call in the Bronx or in Manhattan and get people to find me in the streets sometime. I've never had more quality care than in Monroe Township when it came to health care. In my own community, our nurse is wonderful. Everyone should be calling 911 first, and that's the most important key. The times as a physician that I've seen the problem is where we call the nurse first or a friend instead of calling 911 first. I myself don't touch a person. Even if I have to do CPR, I don't touch them until I call 911. because I can't do it for 3 more hours. That being said, I think, again, healthcare is the most important, and I extend all of my heart to all of you. But this is a decision of community. And in Greenbrier, we do have a community. I go in front of the HOA and argue my points on things. I also talk to my neighbors about points that I have to get them involved. Getting your neighbors involved is important. But the bottom line is you should be directing your own. And I cannot see in any of the senior communities that any HOA or any community would not respect the health care of their neighbors and their friends and not respect that you are the most protected people. And I think this is the best place, and I want to give congratulations also to the entire healthcare community, and thank you to the EMS. Thank you.
I really hate microphones. We have 24-hour paramedics here from Robert Wood Johnson that is stationed in Monroe Township. And they are here all the time. That is their job. We are their job. We have them, yes. Yep, thank you. Sir, your name and address for our records?
My name is William Waldman. I'm a resident of Stonebridge at 234 Diamond Spring Drive. This is an issue in which I feel strongly about the access of health care to myself and my community. However, I also feel strongly that there should be a majority rule, a democratic choice that is made. It's one of the core values of our country, our state, and our town. We vote for things. And I feel very strongly that even though I would not want to lose a nurse, I feel it's irresponsible to have someone else make that decision. So I would urge all of you to think about that. I don't want to overestimate this or underestimate this, but there's a cost to us. If we didn't have the nurse, we'd pay less in maintenance. I think it's one of the best investments we make. But on the other hand, I don't want to make that for everybody else, and I don't think the town in its ordinances should make that decision for everyone else.
Thank you. I do not wish to stifle public comment, but there is another comment section at the end of our regular meeting. Please bear that in mind as we still have the rest of our agenda to go through for the regular meeting. Sorry, your name and address for our
Thank you.
record.
Herb Freilich, 14 Aqueduct Road in Stonebridge. I'll be quick. I don't really want to repeat any of the arguments that have been made, but I think it's important that those arguments be put into perspective. Perspective being that there are about 50 or so members here tonight, perhaps more, who have very good arguments, very thoughtful arguments to support their position. But there are 950 homes in Stonebridge. And what is important is that the entirety of the community should have the opportunity to make the decision, not the strong views held by the 50 or so people who are here tonight, but rather the entirety of the community. Two-thirds vote is going to be required, so it's going to require over 600 homes to be supportive of changing any kind of nursing services. So that was the one point I wanted to make. The other point has to do with the fact that of the 14 other communities that have the right to make their own decisions regarding nursing services, we heard tonight that 12 of them have decided not to have full-time nurses. Only 2 of them have nursing services 24 hours. What's fair is that we, Stonebridge, also be given the opportunity to make that decision like those other 12 communities that decided not to have a full-time nurse. Thank you.
If you are all done at this moment for this first public comment section, going to entertain a motion to close public comment, please.
Motion.
May I have a second on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone say nay? May I have a motion? May I have a motion?
Excuse me, Council President. May we take a 5-minute break
Can
before
I,
we move?
Jen,
Yes.
can I close the meeting?
Second.
Call. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Please, we actually have a meeting.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Okay.
We are taking a 5-minute break. We are adjourned.
The time is 8:17.
2025 is called to order. At what time?
8:25.
Motion. Second.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora. Council President Cohen.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora. Council President Cohen. Motion carries.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen. Motion carries. $406,000.
Morning.
New Jersey. Motion to open a public hearing on the ordinance, please.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Anyone wishing to address the council on this ordinance, please come forward now. Seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion to adopt, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance for first reading, 04-2025-007. Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 04-2025-008. Ordinance authorizing the acceptance of one property known as Block 52, Lot 2.05, Buckaloo Schoolhouse for Fire Department easement. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. A roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 04-2025-009. Ordinance approving the traffic signal improvements for Applegarth Road and Joan Warren Way. Motion.
Motion.
Thank you. Second on that.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Thank you. 04.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, sorry. 04-2025-010. Ordinance amending the Code of the Township of Monroe under Chapter 108, Section 6.23, to amend the medical facility requirement in the Planned Retirement Community District 2, parenthetical PRC 2. May I have a motion?
Motion to move this forward.
Second.
Second.
May I have a roll call?
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Would the clerk please do the resolutions for consideration under the consent agenda?
R4 2025-077 through R4 2025-102, with the exception of R4 2025-084, 100, and 102, which is the introduction of the budget, which will be considered separately.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We'll do R4.
84 first. Resolution R4 2025-084. Motion.
Motion, please.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Abstain.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
And we have to do the budget resolution separately? Yes.
Motion carries.
Yes, we have to do that now.
Yeah.
No.
Resolution R4 2025-100. Motion.
Motion, please.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Abstain.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes. Now,
Resolution R4 2025-102. That's a resolution introducing the 2025 municipal budget.
motion, please.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero.
Yes.
Councilman Markel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora.
Yes.
Council President Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolutions removed from the consent agenda for consideration, please. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call. We're doing A's and A's. We're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Sorry. We move to council reports. We have an administrator's report. Mr. McGowan, your first one is the administrator.
Thank you, Council President.
middle of
And
that.
I just want to start by thanking the mayor for this appointment and as well as the council. Thank you. And I'm actually going to physically turn my business administrator placard up. And thanks very much to the council for this. My mother's going to be so proud. She's watching at home right now. I also just wanted to give a brief update on affordable housing for all of us. So, as you may remember, the 2024 affordable housing legislation established the procedure for municipalities to calculate their Round 4 obligation. In compliance with the statute's new program, the township's affordable housing planner calculated Monroe Township's prospective need number at the January 29th meeting, presented that to the township, to the council, I should say. This is just the raw number of how many affordable housing units that the township would need to zone for over the next 10-year period. The council adopted the planner's calculation at 378, which, as you remember, was dramatically lower than the 751 units that the DCA had recommended to Monroe Township. As we updated last month, there were two challenges to our affordable housing calculation. The process, not to get too deep into the weeds, but the process allows for challengers to challenge the calculation on the overall number of units. The New Jersey Builders Association was one of those who challenged seeking 751 units for Monroe, and the Fair Share Housing Center, which is a nonprofit housing advocacy group, also filed a challenge. All the parties were ordered to mediation with a retired judge assigned to this new program through the legislation. The Builders Association has now withdrawn their challenge, and Mayor Delina has spoken about their disingenuous efforts to overbuild as much housing as possible. And the township was able, over the last month, to come to a reasonable, what we believe is a reasonable settlement with Fair Share Housing, to adjust our prospective needs slightly up to 460. This is much closer than to the township's calculation of 371 than it was to the DCA's recommendation of 751. It's also dramatically lower than the 1,133 units that we were court ordered to provide during Round 3 when it was in a court process and not through this legislative program. So the township will now begin the process of putting together, developing, and implementing a plan to achieve that number. That 460 number gets a little confusing because now we get to apply bonus credits through the legislation. We get to account for affordable housing units that were built but not counted in round 3, like 43 extra that we did over at Veterans Housing. And so we're hoping to bring that range down to a number between 200 and 300, and we are going to be aggressively demanding a 30% set aside for affordable units in order to bring down the overall number of units, because that'll bring down the market rate calculation significantly, as well as trying to build additional what we call 100% municipally sponsored affordable housing, like Veterans Housing, right? Veterans Housing over on Half Acre Road is 80 affordable housing units that that the township constructed with its affordable housing trust fund. That saved an additional 300 market rate units because we did not have to provide any market rate equivalent to any developer. So we're going to be pursuing those opportunities as well. And as every town is doing between now and the end of the summer, there will be discussions at upcoming planning board meetings to allow the public to provide input on the implementation process, which is the real nuts and bolts of this. Where is the zoning going to be changed in order to allow for the opportunity for these affordable units? Remember, the township does not build, unless it's building something like Veterans Housing, the township does not build all these affordable units. We are only constitutionally required to put in the zoning that allows for the opportunity for those, for that housing to be built. And as we know, they are not built within that 10-year time frame. The law allows a much longer time frame. We're still building some units from our round 2 obligation in the late 90s, and obviously we're still continuing to build, not we, but developers are continuing to build from the round 3 obligation as well. So sorry that took a little longer than I wanted it to, but I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Razmowitz.
Thank you, Council President. Welcome, Kevin. Forward to working with you as we move forward. Quick update on a couple projects. There's not a lot of construction going on yet, given the weather conditions. One day it feels like spring, the next day it feels like winter again. But with regard to the James Monroe Park concession stand and park improvements, the developer is working on his demolition permit still with the construction department, and we hope to see that building coming down later this month. Inwood Estates is a project that was started last year. The improvements, concrete improvements, were done over the fall. Paving is anticipated to start in May once we have, hopefully, the warmer weather here to stay. That's my report for tonight.
Thank you very much. We'll move to council reports. We'll begin with Councilman DePiero, please.
Thank you. Welcome, Kevin, and appreciate the report, and thank you for the text messages already and everything, but welcome, and I'm sure you'll do a great job. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Our engineer just said about Inwood Estates. I noticed that the construction project sign is missing on that site. So if we get back to doing the construction, hopefully they'll get signs and we'll make notices to our residents to inform them when the contractor will be doing the work, continuing the work. Also, how are we doing with the police department? Can we get an update on the police department?
That's to your right, Mr. Razmowitz, please.
Sure. So the police department's moving along. The police department's been moving along. They're closing in the buildings. The addition is being dried out. The roof is on. Siding is going on. Concrete work on the outside is basically completed. Interior work is starting. They had their rough electrical inspections, and they're getting all their rough inspections going, and they'll be closing in the wall soon.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, I'm the liaison for the shade tree, Barkley Brook on April 25th. We're going to be planting a tree at 1 o'clock if anybody would like to attend on Arbor Day at the Barkley Brook School at 1 o'clock. I also wanted to thank the mayor for getting a link on our website for shade tree, for permits and our process, because a lot of our residents that come to the shade tree, they come there and they say, we weren't aware that we needed permits or we needed any type of paperwork or arbiter to look at the trees to see if they were dead or what condition they were in. So I just wanted to let everybody know that there's a link on our website now and that the residents can go to, and also call Pam, our secretary, and get the necessary paperwork, because the last thing you want to hear sitting there is that the people are getting fines in the thousands of dollars when they're not aware of something. So it's important that we get the message out that you do need a permit to cut trees down and also to plant trees as well. And we also, Kevin, you mentioned the veterans building. I went there today. I asked them, how's the residents, moving in? And they had 29 residents move in to date as of today. And out of the 29, 19 are veterans. So I didn't ask them, I didn't want to ask them questions like how many 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, or 3 bedrooms, but they told me that 29 residents have moved in, and out of the 29, 19 are veterans. So I wanted to report that back to everyone. The street lights that we just got took years to get on at the municipal complex here. I just wanted to say thank you for getting that done, because it took a long, long time to get JCP&L to actually install those new lights, the LED lights that they put in there, and it's really helpful and beneficial to all our residents. Bentley Road, I don't know if there's any updates, Joe, on water, sewer, if we have any plans for water and sewer on Bentley Road residents, because I know they were here many times.
But it's still in the same state. Waiting for the builder to build. One of us gets a microphone. I'm telling you. 1,001 degrees everywhere.
There it is. Council President, the plans are still moving forward with the developer. There's been no finalization of the design for both the water and sewer infrastructure. But as mentioned in our previous meetings with the Bentley Road residents, we're going to ensure from a township as well as a utility standpoint that there will be no COs granted until the full infrastructure is in place.
Okay, thank you. Council President, we had meetings with JCP&L.
Yes, we did.
And I was just wondering, did we receive any proposals yet as far as the LEDs that they mentioned at the meeting? Did we get any formal proposal yet from JCP&L?
We would. Please, please.
Council President, I'm not aware of a formal proposal, but hope to have that update for you by the next meeting.
I didn't get my report yet either.
Okay, thank you. Last meeting, I mentioned the bridges on Federal Road and Rue Road. The township engineer said he was going to reach out to the county to see if they could resurface the bridges. I don't know if there's any updates on that yet.
Do we have anything? I don't think so.
Council President, I have not received an update for the county, but I will follow up with them again.
Okay, thank you. Lately, I've been getting a lot of calls from residents in my ward that quad riding, going through township properties along with private properties. And I'm not sure what the procedure is, but when they call the police tell them that, well, we don't have capability to go onto private property to get the quad drivers, the children, or adults, whoever's driving quads. So I don't know if there's something that can be done on our behalf, but I do know that a lot of the residents they're even driving down Monmouth Road. They do a lot of driving by Duhernal's property, all back behind Mill Lake. There's a lot of Texas Road. Every Sunday they're there going up and down the road on Texas Road and crossing into Old Bridge. So I don't know, maybe we can increase the police force on Monmouth Road and also Texas Road There's a lot of quad, especially on the weekends. I just wanted to point that out because I'm getting a lot of calls from residents. And I also wanted to let everyone know the Board of Education meeting at the high school is May 5th for their budget on May 5th, 6:30 at the high school. So I just wanted to let everybody know about the budget for the Board of Education. On March 15th,
It's not me.
Council President
Yes.
and Councilwoman Siegel and I attended seniors play at the senior center. It was a very incredible, talented, almost Broadway quality to see our residents from Greenbrier, Whittingham, Concordia, Rossmore, and the Ponds really put on a performance that was, as we like to say in this town, second to none, because they did an exceptional job. The staff there did an incredible job. The place was packed, and it was well worth sitting, enjoying that as watching the talent of our senior communities come together. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that performed and the support from our staff. And yes, Saturday, some of us attended the opening day for softball. We tried to get between the raindrops, and they were trying to play their game after the first pitch. But Joe Molinaro is the president, and I just wanted to say thank you to him and the staff and the crew that put the fields together. And even though the rain and everything was upon us, a lot of the children were having fun, the adults, the parents, grandparents there, and all of the teams. And it was just a great thing to attend, to see that spring is here, even though the weather didn't cooperate. I attended, and I mentioned last meeting, Monroe Ice Hockey. They had their semifinal game. I went up to West Orange to watch our ice hockey team. They fell short in the game. They lost 9-3, but they had an amazing spirit, and the residents that were there and the players, they had a good season. They were very happy. And I mentioned it last. I would like to see them come to a council meeting, and we give them recognition like we do to all our other sports, because they really deserve it, and they tried hard. And like I said, they do a lot for our community, the ice hockey. So hopefully we can get them at our May meeting and show our support. On the first Sunday of every month between 1 and 4 at Dye Farm, it's open house for Monroe history. That's something that a lot of us should attend to get to see our community, what it was and where we are today. So I just wanted to point that out. It's the first Sunday of every month from 1 to 4 at Dye Farm. Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Markell.
Hello. Since this is such a short meeting tonight, I'm gonna make this quick. So far, under the guidance of Mr. McGowan, the town is still in good shape. Just wanted to report that everything's running well as far as I can tell. So that's one thing I had to say. I had a question about the affordable housing of the veterans. How many? I was under the impression there was like 26 people living in there. Do you know exactly how many people are living in there?
So the update that we got just 2 days ago was 26. Obviously, the councilman says he was there today, and they have 29. We'll double check all the numbers and confirm for everybody and get back.
They're not all veterans in there? I thought there was a point when they were going to only have veterans in there. Why?
Like I said, the update that I received did not include the information that was provided, so we have to double check and get back to you.
That's a concern of mine, that they should all be veterans right now. I'd like to know why there are not veterans.
37 of those units are set aside specifically and exclusively for veterans. The other 43 have a veterans preference. So I'll check into that and get back to you, but I don't have that information.
That's very important. That's very important. I don't normally comment on what's going on in the country, but I just want to say something that that what's going on in this country is ultimately people don't think it's important, but it does. It is going to affect Monroe one of these days if it keeps going in the direction it's going. So we have to be aware of what's going on, and hopefully we won't be affected by some of the layoffs and so forth that is going on. And the last thing I want to say is, Lori, thanks for getting the budget done so quickly. Is it a record? I don't know. I haven't been here that long, but it's great to have it in our hands so we can see what's going on and know the numbers. And I'll have an appointment with you to go over it together. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Siegel.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President. So I just have a couple updates. I just want to add to the seniors play at the CTAC play sponsored by the Monroe Township Cultural Arts Commission. It really, truly was amazing. They had over 450 people attend. And what was really neat, too, was that it was a standing ovation for the whole performance, which was, you kind of felt like you were part of the performance with them. So congratulations to all of them. I know they pulled this together at a very short amount of time. And thank you to the senior center staff and everyone else who helped out to pull that together. And I do want to welcome Kevin to our team. Well, you've been part of the team, but thank you. I look forward to working with you in this capacity. I want to also welcome the Monroe Park Veterinary Hospital to Monroe. It's a new business. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony a couple weeks ago. They're located off of Spotswood Englishtown Road. If something for your calendars, DPW has been doing drop-in sessions where you, at the library, where you have an opportunity to ask them questions about recycling, bulk pickups, whatever it may be. Their next session is April 15th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the library. And also, I know that it's Library Week. I saw the proclamation that we have coming up. And something neat, at the Historic Preservation Commission's first open house, they're going to have the Monroe Township Library Book Bike be there. So it's kind of neat. Do come out and support. Do come out to the farm and check out the bike. Kind of neat. Something different.
It is definitely different.
So thank you.
Councilman Van Zura.
Thank you, Madam President. We joke about it, but I think we're really pretty lucky. We had Alan as a business administrator for 8 years. Alan leaves, and now we have Kevin moving right in. We're very lucky. That's a very smooth transition, because that could have been wrought with a lot of technical things if you have to go out and hire somebody that doesn't really know what's going on in the town and a transitional period. So I'm very happy that Kevin's taken over, and he's already familiar with a lot of the issues in the town, and I think he'll do a great job, and happy to have you on board. So just want to say that. And as soon as he's on, we get the results of our lawsuit with the Eagles Nest that I think Gary talked about before, where we had the lawsuit with the developer and we came away victorious. So that was a good thing that happened. And now as it gets to spring, although it doesn't seem like spring today, we've had a few nice days here and there. I'm on the rec advisory, so even though I didn't get there for the opening pitches and all the glitter in the beginning, I did stop by around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and they're still playing softball over at the field, even though it was drizzling a little bit. And does my heart well to see the kids out there getting involved, and I think that's all a good thing. So all that stuff is good. Also want to follow up. I think Mike brought up a very important point about the veterans, and I thought we might have mentioned it somewhere along the lines, because isn't there a waiting list of veterans to get in or being interviewed? Like, I asked about this once.
So, Conifer, who constructed the building, is also in charge of managing that process. There is a lengthy application process. Usually takes about 8 applicants to get one individual who's qualified under the affordable housing regulations to be able to occupy that space. Like I said before, I'm going to confirm these numbers and see where it's at, because I got slightly different information. So
even 19 out of 29 or like to see 80 out of 80 if it would have been. So if we got 10 the other way, let's get 70 out of 80. And I think that, you know, when you're spreading the word, listen, we're not the ones that are doing the marketing, but I think we could follow up on them and push them a little bit too, because it is important. And, you know, veterans, you know, that's what it's there for. It's really for the vets, if at all possible. I understand if we can't get them, but, you know, let's really make that push to try. Thank you guys for everything. And one last thing, for those that celebrate, happy Easter coming up in a couple of weeks. So it's that time of year. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you've been making notes. I'm watching you taking notes.
Thank you, Madam Council President. I'm going to read the verbiage I have here for the mayor's budget address. This is mostly just words. Obviously, with the budget being presented to the council this evening, it'll be available on our website. All of the numbers, you can go through it. But again, this is just kind of the treetops general overview. It is my privilege to present to you the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025. This budget comes at a time of rising financial pressure, not only for our township, but also our residents. Like many of you, we are facing increased utility costs, higher healthcare expenses, and other fixed costs affected by inflation and the recent market uncertainty. We know these pressures are real, and they are being felt throughout the community. Despite these challenges, we have worked hard to craft a fiscally responsive budget that keeps our township on the path of safety and sustainability. Our goal is to maintain the services that matter to you while keeping taxes as low as possible. This year's budget reflects a modest 1.5-cent increase in the property tax rate. We understand that the tax increase is a burden, and that is why we have worked diligently to keep this increase as low as possible. For the average homeowner in Monroe, this increase equates to just $4 per month. We recognize the importance of affordability, and this budget continues the commitment to tightening our belts and being mindful of your hard-earned dollars. We have made difficult choices to ensure that the budget remains balanced, prioritizing essential services while foregoing all new major additions to the operating budget. The one exception is public safety. We must continue to invest in the safety and security of our community, and as such, we have authorized the addition of 3 new police officers and 2 new EMS personnel. It is crucial that we continue to prioritize public safety. These additions will help ensure that we maintain response times and services for our residents. Public safety remains the cornerstone of a thriving community, and we are committed to investing it despite the pressures we face. I work hard to engage with the community, gather feedback, and ensure that this budget reflects the values and needs of our residents. I appreciate the time and effort that so many of you have taken to share your thoughts with myself, and I am grateful for your continued support as we navigate these difficult times. Thank you for your attention, your input, your continued commitment to the well-being of our community. I look forward to working with you as we move forward to the fiscal year. I especially need to thank all of our department directors, our BA, but I especially want to thank our CFO's office, highlighting Loriola. And this is indeed a record-breaking, on-time, clean budget, which we've been working, hard over the last couple of years to get it on time. This year, having Lori leading the troops, we are certainly appreciative of it. And Lori, we always remember our first time, and this is our first time with your budget, so I'm sure it's something to remember. The process continues. Now, if you recall, earlier this year, in December, January, we talked about the budget process where the directors get together internally with the with the municipal administration. Input is accepted. Discussion goes on, and then the budget now is officially presented to the Township Council. So over this next month, they will go through the budget as well, perhaps identifying some pieces of the budget that are plus or minus to them, and there'll be continued discussion. They're also open now to discuss that with concerns with the residents that they represent. Councilman DePiero had mentioned that the Board of Ed budget is going to be presented or for discussion on May 5th. Well, as fates would have it, the council meeting was supposed to be on May 5th as well. And we felt that it was important that the public not be denied the right to discuss both the Board of Ed and the municipal budget. So therefore, we have moved the council meeting for the budget hearing, the official budget hearing, to be on May 7th. So real quick with my report, welcome, Kevin. As a Mets fan, I always look at, the line of succession. Mets had Tom Seaver, and after Tom Seaver left, they had Pat Zachary. Maybe that's not a good example. So Kevin comes with with just an amazing brain, amazing demeanor, as well as somebody that I think will be able to continue leading the municipal administrative portion of our government. And I've seen him in action, obviously, as our assistant BA. And I look forward to continuing my everyday, multiple times a day conversations with somebody who I have the utmost faith in. So thank you, Kevin. Read Across America happened a couple of weeks ago. I hit Mill Lake, Woodland, and Applegarth. It's late in the day. I was going to tell a story about the second graders, but maybe we'll hold on to that one. Speaking of reading, if you were here earlier, you saw that we had a proclamation for the Library Week. Well, if you look on the Monroe Township YouTube website, there's a new Mayor Delina show regarding me walking around the library, boasting of our services. I refuse. I really don't like to watch myself on TV, so if somebody can watch it and let me know how I was, I'd appreciate it. I did attend a private birthday party for one of Monroe Township's #1 citizens, Mr. Cy Lipper, who turned 99. Baseball, softball opening days were mentioned. A couple upcoming events. All veterans and their guests are invited to come to the Good Morning Vietnam movie at the Stonebridge Ballroom, which is coming up on April. Well, I don't have the date here. Take a look at our website. The Mayor's Wellness Campaign bike ride with the police and a car show will occur at Veterans Park on Saturday, May 3rd. The bike ride starts at 11:30. For any information in regards to what's going on in the town, please check out our website. And I do want to finish with just to keep in your thoughts and prayers, the Levinson family. Longtime member of our Rec Advisory Board, and just a normal, nice, happy, good Monroe man. Mr. Bob Levinson passed away. I did attend a service for him yesterday. Their family's sitting Shiva for the next couple days, but Bobby, you'll be missed.
Thank you, sir. And we now have a public comments, a second public comment section. May I have a motion to open public comments, please? Thank you. A second on that? All in favor? Any opposed? Your name and address.
Gary Bussman, 7 Monarch Road, Monroe Township. First question I have is addressed at Mr. McGowan. Congratulations on your new position. So my question with that congratulations is, will I see you at the next zoning board meeting?
Council President, for you, Gary, I'll be there. All good.
Just like that, he's showing up.
You'll be there. Okay. Now, Friday, I too was at the Veterans Housing Development, and I too asked all of the questions that you folks just raised. And it seems to me that the progress and the amount of veterans that are applying is not as much as anticipated. Why? I don't know. Am I concerned and upset? Of course. I think you all would be. But I don't know what Conifer is doing to push this issue, and how do we get residents to take the 80 available residences that are there? Even though we're at 37 mandated, I don't want to see 15 unoccupied residences that are held for veterans. So I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know what any of you on the board or the mayor can do to make this better than what it is. So having said that, I want to make a little retraction to what I said when Stonebridge was here, since I am a Stonebridge resident. I approved the fact that there should be an adjustment to the ordinance. But the real concern was mentioned by 2 or 3 people towards the end of the discussion. The real discussion is parity as opposed to changes. Parity is a whole issue that reeks of unfairness if it's not uniformly around every community and everyone that's participating in the action. So once you get past having to make that decision, which is difficult enough, then you get through, how do you make sure that a nurse is always available at each? You may say, come on, but it's important to understand the difference between the choice of parity and financial burden. To me, and I heard this said, and you've got it, and this is an important thing that the planning board needs to understand, is that $435 a year for each house, regardless if it's single or double, is not, to me, an overburden of having a full-time, 24/7 registered nurse. 2/3 to approve a change in not allowing us to have or discontinuing nursing service, I don't think will ever happen. But it's interesting to think about the fact that if the ordinance stays the way it is, it can never change that there will never be the possibility of any board or any members of the community saying, well, we don't want nursing. I think that that would be a mistake. But I'm only one person, and you heard many, many people describe to you what's going on. And one thing that somebody said, and I'll repeat it, which is very important, and I told the president the exact same thing that I'm going to tell you now. They didn't have a drop-dead date for the termination of the voting. They held the voting open for weeks and weeks so that they could achieve the percentage that they want to distribute to you. And when you break the percentage down into the actual residents, you find out that it's not even 30%. So having said all of that, and having you heard me, I appreciate the fact that you allow me the opportunity to speak to you openly when there's no one here to get up and challenge, so that you understand my feelings as a resident of Stonebridge and my feelings also as a resident of Monroe Township. And I thank you.
Yes, so I'm not a resident of Monroe, but I am a resident of Manalapan. I'm speaking actually in my capacity as full-time public policy and justice organizer for Water Spirit.
Your name, please.
Rachel Dawn Davis, thank you. So thank you for your time. As I shared, I am a full-time employee of Water Spirit, which is an eco-spiritual nonprofit based here in the county, in Monmouth County, and also as a resident of Monmouth County. Like I said, I live in Manalapan, not too far away. I'm here to propose an ordinance aimed at reducing waste and promoting sustainability within our broader community and certainly within this community. With the support of your Green Team members, I respectfully urge the council to pass an ordinance to skip the stuff, which focuses on reducing excessive use of single plastics and non-essential packaging in Monroe Township. And so this is what I'm talking about. We all have seen these, right? We have been giving them, maybe we don't want them, maybe we have a drawer of all the stuff that just kind of accumulates. And so we want to get rid of that. And it actually, to quote somebody else, it's a win-win-win. So given Monroe Township is a community that maintains a strong commitment to the future, namely involving young people, you have the opportunity to lead by example. This ordinance would implement measures to minimize unnecessary plastic use in our local businesses, starting with common items like straws, utensils, including chopsticks and to-go containers. The Skip the Stuff ordinance would encourage businesses to offer alternatives such as reusable bags or compostable materials, and incentivize consumers to bring their own reusable items. This is really, at this point, about behavior change. There is a state bill, S3195, that's working on this, but there are many towns who have passed this ordinance, and we're hoping that you can continue to be a leader. Through fostering a culture of sustainability, Monroe Township would not only save businesses money, which is very important, my background is in economics, improve Monroe's ecological footprint, but also contribute to reducing the negative impact on our beloved beaches, oceans, and oceans, aligning with New Jersey's broader environmental goals. So this would be taking a significant step by passing this ordinance towards sustainability and also leading the way for other cities in New Jersey to do the same. Like I said, there have been several before, but we need as many as possible. I'm also here urging this council to pass a resolution in support of the New Jersey Green Amendment, which is SCR 43 ACR 119. The New Jersey Green Amendment seeks to recognize and enshrine the right of all residents to a healthy environment within our state constitution. Specifically, it guarantees the right to clean air, clean water, a stable climate, and healthy environment. These are all essential elements of life for our community and specifically future generations. By passing this resolution, Monroe Township would join the growing movement to secure environmental justice, ensuring that every person, regardless of their socioeconomic status or geographic location, has the right to live in an environment that does not harm their health or well-being. This resolution would not only reflect the values of your very beautiful community, and even just witnessing this meeting tonight, the values that place a premium on environmental protection and sustainability, but would also send a powerful message to the state legislature. It would highlight Monroe Township's leadership in advocating for policies that prioritize public health and the preservation of our natural resources, which are foundational to both our local economy as well as our quality of life. The Green Amendment is a vital step toward ensuring, again, future generations inherit a healthy environment, and by supporting it, Monroe Township can play an essential role in securing this legacy. I do have materials to share. If you would like, I also did email the council beforehand. Sure, and I'll give it to the clerk. But thank you for your attention and for your commitment to a greener, more just, and stable future for all of us. And I ask your support in passing this ordinance and resolution.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address us?
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. Congratulations, Kevin, and all the best. You're the best, so all the best for you. One thing is, I attended the economic development meeting, and our Vice President Terence Venzura has good plans, and I was impressed with the two proposals he has, and I'm sure he's going to propose that to the council. Then, with coming to the affordable housing, I thought previously we were committed to do 850 affordable housing, something like that. Okay, previously. If I forget all this, I was told 7 years back, the commitment total with the court and all, I don't know, the number was somewhere 800 and odd. With that number, this 460 is addition to that number? That's the question.
Council President?
Yes, please, because I was not confused. Now I am.
Sure. So the 850 units was our round 3 obligation to implement zoning that would allow for 850 affordable units during round 3. That was in 2015. Round 4 of affordable housing is starting in 2025. So these would be moving into the future, an additional obligation.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for clarification. So these are the additional then the past. So just want everything good. We are trying to number it down and all, but it is all fine. So I had a clarity on that. Another one thing is our new budget is going to be $4 per month for average value house, something like 333. I'll tell you, our school budget is going to be around $45 per month for the average house. Okay, so stay tuned. I want to make it clear that there's a difference of 10 times in school budget. Okay, you're going to cost. Okay, you all can clarify that because that's the information I have. And this resolution, which I talked about receiving a grant or whatever of $2 million to pay towards land on 330 Schoolhouse Road of 33.6 acres for the open space. So this land, after paying $2 million, will belong to township?
Please.
Council President, so no, as the council passed last year an ordinance and had a public hearing on this, this is a piece of land where the township purchased the development rights and put the property into what's called farmland preservation, meaning that the greatest amount of the value is in its potential to be developed. So this is a beautiful 34-acre piece of land in the middle of a residential zone that could have otherwise been housing, but it will be now preserved in perpetuity, and this grant agreement that's on the agenda is the county has agreed to contribute $2 million toward that, and so the agreement just effectuates that $2 million grant.
So as a layman, I understand that we are paying $2 million for that property, so that property will remain as whatever it is, farmland or whatever, and their owner will continue to follow that. So that land will, with the promise or agreement that that land belongs indirectly to the owner in saying that it will be preserved as a open space.
So Council President, under the MLUL, the farmland preservation is a component of open space. But to be clear, and I think we made this clear last year, but just to remind everybody, it is not purchased as township-owned property where we could build a park or something on it. This is preserved farmland that the farmer and owner has to, is restricted to only farming activities forever.
I understand now farming. So as a public, it is nice to know. Can I continue for one more minute? Because this is important for me.
Time.
Okay.
There is another meeting next month. Thank you. Sir, your name and address for our record, please.
Yes, my name is Brian Thompson. I live at 5 Drew Court in Monmouth Beach. I'm a Monmouth Beach Environmental Commissioner. I'm a member of the Beyond Plastics National Advisory Board, and maybe one or two of you might recognize me as I used to be a reporter for Mr. McGowan does, from Channel 4 until I retired a couple of years ago, and I covered New Jersey for the state. So thank you for allowing me to address you. I wanted to back up what Rachel Davis just told you about Skip the Stuff. And I wanted to add a couple of words about Skip the Stuff. That is the, I'm going to borrow her props because I left mine in the car. But there was a survey done by Clean Water Action on businesses in Red Bank where they have had this ordinance for a year now. And the number of, or the amount of plastic utensils that were handed out by restaurants in Red Bank dropped by 94%. A huge number if you think of all of this stuff in your kitchen drawers. I know I was going through my kitchen a couple times over the past few days, and I just found some here and found some there, and it was ridiculous. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you would please, in considering joining some 17 other towns in New Jersey now that have passed Skip the Stuff ordinances in the past year. And I want to applaud you for passing your resolution on the Superfund, Climate Superfund law. That is great. There is another one coming along that will actually save. A little too close, aren't I? I'm used to it. Come on, give me a break. The EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, something I'd never heard of until about a year ago, but it's packaging reduction by people like Amazon, by Gillette, Coca-Cola, Frito-Lay, whatever you get sent to your home via Amazon, or whatever you buy in the store at Costco or ShopRite or whatever, the merchants who sell you something, including an Apple iPhone, would have to reduce the amount of packaging they use by 50% over 10 years. That will save your municipality money on tipping fees, on the amount that you have to pick up through, I believe it's your DPW that actually picks up your trash and your recyclables. It'll save you money on that. And here's the catch that you're going to love. The producers have to put into a fund enough money to pay for what you do pick up, or at least a substantial part of it that's packaging. So instead of your taxpayers, and I heard Mr. McGowan talk about utility costs rising, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't want to include tipping fees on that as well, for getting rid of your stuff or the incinerator, wherever you send it. You would get paid by the producers of this packaging trash to compensate you for much of the cost of your DPW trucks, etc. And so I would like to ask you to consider supporting that as well. I'm going to send some information to you all on that. And one other item that I'd like to mention, if I have a moment.
You have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes?
I think you have 2, yes.
Oh, easy for me.
Oh, good.
A year ago, my town of Monmouth Beach, and I understand you're mostly Democrats here, and my town actually happens to be tinged red. My town passed the first in the nation construction sawdust containment ordinance. Whereas your contractors do have to maintain a clean site when they're renovating a home, building an apartment complex, whatever. One thing that escapes usually the construction code official or your construction official is sawdust. And if you think about it, and this is not, I will send you a good picture of this as well, but this is instant microplastics at a site in Margate. And Margate had the inspiration. My town passed it first, an ordinance that requires it to be in the cutting, the table cutting, to be encapsulated when the contractor is outside in the front yard at the beginning of a project, a tarp underneath, and a vacuum on the table saw to scoop up most of the microplastics that otherwise go into the air, the ground, your vegetable patch,
You are done.
and into the water. So I will send that all to you.
Please do.
And thank you very much for listening to us. I appreciate it very much.
Lucille Panos, 1208 Sealandera. First, I'd like to welcome Mr. McGowan. You have some large shoes to fill because Alan was really good. He would answer, he was good. I would hope that my councilman, I hope that we all agree, but especially I was happy that my councilman and Councilman DePiero actually went to the site. Mr. Markle, Councilman Markle, I'm sure will fight. That's in our ward. And we want our veterans. I think we all agree that veterans first.
Absolutely.
And all veterans if possible. So please, each one of you follow up on that. And what's the value of the average house that everybody's talking about?
Please.
Council President, I believe it's 337,000.
Okay. Now, I do have to say, I don't know what the MO of this council is, but Councilman Van Doren's rant last month was unacceptable from a local councilman. And if it's going to start Mr. Markle started with.
He's Markel and he's not Markle.
Okay,
So,
excuse me,
well,
stop it. Okay, you're not my teacher.
No,
you're
just
not
to
my
be
teacher.
clear,
He can
don't
correct
argue
me.
with me.
No, I'm
Please
not. Don't argue with me,
Please
and don't
don't.
waste my time. Okay, I'm
You have your
talking.
5
Thank you.
minutes. You
Yeah.
are
So, okay,
objecting
will
to
you
what he
extend
said.
it?
Please go.
Will you extend
Please
it?
continue.
No,
You
I'm
use
just.
30
He
seconds
can
of me.
correct me about the pronunciation of his name. I don't need
I
my.
just said he doesn't have to. Would you please just go on?
Excuse me, Mrs. Cohan. Okay.
Enjoying doing that. Go
Yeah.
right ahead.
No, but that is.
Just go right
No,
ahead.
it's
That
not
was
acceptable
uncalled
that
for.
you right.
Just
Just stop it.
uncalled
You
for.
just did the same
Just
thing.
uncalled for.
No, because I question what a councilman did.
No,
I
I'm
question
not
what a
going to
councilman
do this with
ranted
you,
on
ma'am.
last
You have
month.
your 5 minutes to speak.
Because I questioned what a councilman ranted on about a local level specific. At least Mr. Markel didn't do that. He said he's concerned. Yes, that's acceptable. But to do what he did, you know what? If that's the MO of this council, I could see why Alan left because, hey, let me get out of Dodge because this is unacceptable.
Shell Arminio, 9 Nathaniel Street. I would just like to make one comment that there is a precedent that we really can't object to the content of someone's speech. So I would like people to keep that in mind. Okay. There was a lawsuit, I think it's Bressler versus West Windsor Board of Education, that the gentleman won because the Board of Education kept interrupting him and objecting to his speech. And that is not, should not be acceptable from anyone. Okay, I do have a question about the lawsuit. Everybody talked about the Eagles Nest lawsuit, the win at this point. We very rarely win against developers. So is there any information about whether they're going to appeal that decision? I think they've appealed it already, but is there another, we can only be happy if they don't appeal it. So are we aware that that might be appealed?
Council President, I believe there is a notice of further appeal up to the Supreme Court, but there's no decision yet on whether the Supreme Court's going to take it.
Right. Okay. The danger, of course, is the appeal. A resolution ending in 009, the improvements on the Jane Warren. That traffic light is already functioning. Is there a reason why we're now approving the improvements, or is there going to be additional improvements?
Mr.
Council President, it's a Middlesex County traffic signal. There was a tri-party agreement with the town and the developer and the county. Once the traffic signal is built and functioning, the county, one of the conditions of the county accepting it is the township has to accept it first, and then Middlesex County will accept it at their commissioners meeting, and then they will be maintaining that traffic signal.
Okay, so are we saying that it is functional and complete at this point?
Council President, that is correct.
That is the understanding. Thank you. I was wondering why we needed improvements. It looked pretty good to me. Okay, the affordable housing, yes, I do want to lend my voice to the fact that, well, two things. One for the veterans and one, is there a way we can insist on 30% of our affordable housing built out in the fourth round be, absolutely maintained?
Did you not address that earlier? Can you clarify
Well, he
that,
mentioned
please?
it,
I
but-
thought you had said that.
Council President, the implementation plan for round 4 has to be developed and then adopted by both the planning board and the council. And that includes it will need to include specific project sites. And we are going to be, aggressively pursuing 30% set-asides for all of those sites.
Okay, so that doesn't necessarily, they can take us to court. Is it possible that the builders can take us to court to object to 30% and go back to the 20? I guess it's all possible, right?
Well, Council President, if a particular property owner or builder is agreeing to become part of our implementation plan, and we are agreeing as a township to change zoning to accommodate their site, we're going to be looking for 30%. So once they enter into that agreement, that's the agreement.
I think it's long overdue, and I applaud and I hope that both the planning board and the council make sure that that is in the negotiation and that it's held to that standard. And yes, I'm very disappointed. I think that we should have, there should, and I don't know how the contract is with the veterans housing, but I think we should wait until we get most of that project with veterans in it before we put, because really now it sounds like you have a third already of non-veterans in that building, and I think that's dangerous precedent. I think we should do whatever we can. If the council can do it, the zoning board, the planning board, whoever can, to press them on to continue to really just provide for veterans, because why would they even put non-veterans in when it's not even halfway done? So I think it seems like everybody is agreement to that. So I think we should, if any pressure could be applied, that's where it should go. I mean, and it's nice that we all agree on that, isn't it? Okay, and I think that might be done. Yes, Mr. McGowan, I look forward. You've been very good with the planning and the master plan, affordable housing, all that stuff, and I hope that this position that you have is not going to exhaust you so much you won't be able to give us as much information as you had. Thank you very much.
Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Good evening. Bob Valentine, 68 Union Valley Road. Congratulations, Mr. McCown. Best of luck to you. I want to start with a quick question. I read that the Middlesex County Commissioners back at the end of February approved the county budget for 2025, and it's a reduced tax rate. I was interested to knowing what the impact is going to be on Monroe residents, what the new tax rate is going to be.
Please.
Council President, sorry, just to clarify your question, are you asking for the municipal tax rate or the county tax rate?
County tax rate. Part of our tax bill every year is the county tax is going up year after year.
Correct. I believe the county tax rate went up 1.4 cents, if I'm not mistaken.
Lori, take
Very similar to our tax rate. I believe they went up 1.4 cents. We're up 1.5 cents.
So there's a lower budget, they're spending less, and we're not seeing any benefit on taxes.
I can't speak to their budget, but that's the information that was provided from the county in terms of their tax increase.
This goes back to a point the mayor wrote last year about the problems with the county tax structure. And I'd be more sympathetic if it were not for the fact that the Democratic Party controls the governor, the legislature, the county, the town, everything. So, and I really, those are the kind of times I'd like to hear the local reports out when the council members, what are we doing to fight change in the system? Putting in floors and caps, looking at options, things we could try to do to minimize the bite. Because now even the county's expenses go down, we're still going up. I just am disappointed. The things we talk about at these meetings that really have nothing to do with what goes on in the town. And here's an issue that you should be pushing and advocating and making some noise about, and I think just far too compliant. I also want to acknowledge Mr. DePiero for his work on at least he's involved with the school in terms of going to meetings and engagement. It's another area we're not getting any traction on government state support for our schools, and never discussed here except when he brings it up. I mean, I don't know why you're so not interested in these things. You want to talk about Ukraine and other topics, but I think these are things you should be trying to make some impact on, at least make some noise, ask the residents for help. It's something to really impact these issues. Those are the things that we're looking for you to do as a local government, our representatives. I know I'm short on time. I appreciate the opportunity on the budget. There's 4 or 5 things I would respectfully ask you to look at as you go through the budget. One, if you look at the forms, sheet 11, last column, realized in cash in 2024, $80.7 million. Expended in 2024, $73.8 million. That's a surplus of about $7 million roughly. That will pay for a couple of police officers and some EMS people. So I think you really want to understand why there's a need for an increase. I also would like to understand why the recycle shared services are going up. I'd like to understand how much the town's been writing off for uncollected taxes, because there's a reserve in this budget for $4.2 million. And I don't think you're writing off anywhere near that kind of number. So, and lastly, I know it might directly affect you, but it's in your budget, and that is the library. The library expense increase this year, the appropriation increase is $500,000. It was $500,000 last year. So that's $1 million in 2 years. I really would like to understand what's driving the activity in the library to require such large increases, well above inflation. And I mean, I just really would like to understand. I'm not making a judgment on it. I don't have the information to make a judgment on it, but I think the community is entitled to know that. And lastly, The budget's 80 pages. You spent months on it. I appreciate your efforts. I talked about this last year. I think it's a disservice. I'm going to get less than 10 minutes to ask questions about an 80-page document you spent months on. This whole process is very disrespectful of the community and not educating the public, not taking the time to give it the attention and help us understand better what's happening. I think it's really, I'm very disappointed. It's a major failure. I talked about it last year, and really nothing's changed. In fact, it was worse this year. Maybe, I guess I'm glad you moved the meeting, so at least you don't have to wait for 4 hours of talking about a nurse to even have a chance to even speak before all of you. I really ask you to take a hard look at your process and have a process that's more open to the public and provides more information to help us understand. It's one of everybody's biggest expenses, our taxes. I think we have a right to understand what we're getting for our money and what you're committing to and what you're spending on and help people understand it. All right, so I really would ask you to please seriously consider looking at your process. And I don't want to get a letter in July with all my taxes. I mean, that just shouldn't take that long. I would hope that next month, wherever it's done, you can summarize what the total impact is. So I don't have to wait till the summertime to find out what it's going to be. I would ask you, please, really take a hard look at this process. You might not agree with everything I've talked about in the past, but I think there's certainly room for improvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing and hearing none, a motion to close public comments, please.
Motion to close.
Motion a second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Roll call.
Councilman DePiero. Councilman Markel. Councilwoman Siegel.
Yes.
Council Vice President Van Zora. Council President Cohen. We're adjourned. It's 9:36.
Thank you.